Today you're here if you've taken the time to purchase the CyberReef Uptime Plus service. What we're here to talk about today is really what CyberReef does to prepare the hardware if you purchased it from us, to make sure that the hardware is connectable and what we do to get it ready to ship to you. And then we're going to walk over how to connect everything together with your firewall. As part of the introduction, we want you to know that you've purchased a CBA 850 if you've chosen the hardware option. The CyberReef pre-set up steps prior to shipping to the customer. We activate a SIM card for the actual Cradlepoint device itself. We insert that SIM card. We run through and test the connectivity to the public internet. And then we also test the Uptime Plus filtering and to ensure that the proper applications are being blocked and operating appropriately for the service that you've purchased. We'll then disassemble the kit and re-kit everything back on the box for shipping, and we'll ship it to the customer address that we were able to get through the quoting process. Let's talk about how to connect it. There is a preferred service architecture. In the end, the simple distinction is we want the Cradlepoint to make the decisions. And it's a simple decision. Is your primary internet up or down? If your primary internet is down, then you'll fail over to the Cradlepoint 850 wireless service, and you'll have backup internet through your chosen carrier that we've worked out with you as part of the quote. Let's talk about what happens when the box shows up on premise. So what we're going to do is we want you to take everything out of the box. And what you should have is your Cradlepoint modem. You should have a power source, an AC adapter. You should have an Ethernet cable, and the antennas and screws that come with it, as well as the instructions and regulatory guides that are included in the box. Here I've got the antennas that we're going to go through and put in. I've got a pre-assembled antenna version, so that'll make it a bit easier from a timing perspective. But what I want you to think about doing is you get all the stuff laid out. You're already going to have most likely a cable running into your firewall from your primary internet source. So I'm going to plug that in just to have that ready as part of the demonstration. And this cable on the other end is going to my cable modem that represents my primary internet source. So step one, we want you to connect the LAN source that you normally would put into your firewall. So take it out of the firewall, and as you plug that into port 1 of your modem. LAN port 1. So that's done. Simple thing to do. Now we're running the primary internet through the Cradlepoint modem. Now we're going to go to step 3, which is to install the power. So this thing goes live. Take the other end of the power source. It's on the very back of the modem. It's on the far right underneath where you plugged in your LAN 1 port, and you plug that into the power source itself. It's going to be going into the wall, and you're ready to go for that. Now what you're going to do is take the Ethernet cable that we gave you in the box. You may need a longer one depending on how far away the antennas and the Cradlepoint are from your firewall. But what you're going to do is you're going to take, since you've connected your primary internet into your Cradlepoint modem, we're now going to connect into LAN port 2 the connection that will go from the Cradlepoint modem into your firewall. Now everything is connected. You've got your primary internet going into the Cradlepoint, passing through. The Cradlepoint's going to make the decisions. And that's the key thing about this preferred service architecture. The Cradlepoint itself is making the failover decisions, not the firewall. The firewall making the decisions is option 2, and we'll discuss that just in a few minutes. Now, once you've got that done, we do want you to have consulted your IT organization to be able to configure the outside and inside interfaces of the firewall and the Cradlepoint LAN 2 interface, typically with a /30 network, with each interface having its own IP address. In some cases, some smaller firms are going to just use basic DHCP and everything's going to get assigned automatically, but consult with your IT firm that does support your firewall. So once you've completed step 5 and you've got all the configuration done for the outside interface and the Cradlepoint itself relative to the IP addresses, then you're going to want to go through and test that you've got a proper internet connection still in place. So the first thing I want you to do when all the cabling's done and you're ready to test, go through and make certain that you've got access to the internet. Go run Google some different sites, go to Bing, play around, be comfortable that you've got the proper access. Then, once you've done that, I want you to remove the LAN cable from the Cradlepoint 850, the one coming from your primary internet, take it off of LAN 1, take it out of the box. Now, the only thing that's feeding your firewall is the wireless connection from the Cradlepoint. Now I want you to go back in, and I want you to again test with a computer, tablet, whatever you're using. Could be a phone on the Wi-Fi of your backbone, and test that you can get to Google, you can get to Bing, just basic sites that you might do as part of your everyday business activities. Then I also want you to try to get out to Facebook or some other similar social media type app that now should be being blocked by the filtering that we apply for when you're in failover. Make sure that's occurring correctly. Once you've got all those tests done and everything's running the way you expect, reattach your primary interface back into your primary LAN interface back into LAN port 1, into the Cradlepoint modem. Now you've restored your primary internet, and you should be ready to roll with the Uptime Plus service. All right, now that we've gone through the primary preferred service architecture, we're going to take you through our secondary option. And what it really amounts to is it's the customer's firewall is making the decision, not the Cradlepoint. We prefer the first option simply because the Cradlepoint's purpose built for it, but there are going to be some cases where customers are going to need the firewall to make the decision, and it is a little bit of a different connectivity situation to how you hook things up to the firewall itself and to the Cradlepoint. So we're going to talk about that. The first few steps are the same. You're going to attach the modem antennas. So I'm going to take the modem that we had, I'm going to bring back in the one that's got the antennas already attached. They're simply screw in, so that shouldn't be a problem. We're going to connect the active AC source. I've got my active AC source right here. Without it really being plugged in, we don't want to involve a real power source during the demo. So we're going to get that plugged in, so that's done. And then we're going to go through and connect Cradlepoint LAN 2's Ethernet interface to the firewall. Now, in this situation, you would have already had the firewall connected to your outside LAN interface, which is typically going to be a cable modem of some sort. So let's put that back in. So that primary interface is in place. Now I'm going to take the Ethernet cable that was provided in the packing, and we're going to connect it to the LAN 2 connector, which is over on the far right in the back. And we're going to go through and connect that interface into the Cradlepoint 850. And from there, we're going to connect that into the firewall. So now what you have are two different sources of internet into your active firewall. One, your landline, typically a cable modem of some sort, and then you've got your Cradlepoint 850 with a wireless service provided by CyberReef. Now we want you to do, at this point, one of two things will have occurred. Either your DNS, your DHCP service will have taken over and it will have configured a couple of different interfaces for you, but we do want you to consult in step 4 with your IT group to make sure that you've got a plan on how you're going to connect the firewall interfaces and the Cradlepoint LAN 2 interface, typically using a /30 network with each interface having a unique IP address assigned. So make sure that's done. Consult your internal firewall people to know that that gets done. If you're using a DHCP type situation, you're going to be covered. It's going to be okay. But we do want to make sure that your IT groups have a good understanding of what's being done and how it's being done. But once it's connected and you've got connectivity, we do want to test everything. So make sure while this is connected in step 5, we want you to test, one of your primary typical internet sources you might go to Google, go to Bing, whatever your primary search engine is, do a couple searches, make sure you can get out. And then I want you to go to step 6. Step 6, to test the backup interface, we're going to remove the connectivity from the firewall, keeping it ready to put back in, but we're also then going to test and fail that we can get to the internet. Go to the Bing, go to Google, whatever type of an application you want to prove that you can get out, and also go to one that should be blocked. Go to Facebook, go to a social media type application. Those should have been blocked when you're on failover, and verify that you are being blocked. In the case that none of this is happening the way that I'm describing it, then reach out and contact CyberReef. And on the document that we're going to have and give you access to and the instructions, you'll see what those dial-in instructions are going to be and how to open up a ticket and get access to our support organization. Upon successful conclusion of a test, however, which is what we expect to happen, take that primary internet interface and stick it back in, and you're ready to run the service day to day. If any issues were to arise or you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to CyberReef's support line, which you can get off the website, www.cyberreefsolutions.com. Go to the support section, and that will take you through how to contact CyberReef if you don't already know how to do that.